please, indulge myself and the panelists as well. So welcome to the Afew-Store New Balance Craftsmanship Day celebration of one of the most iconic shoes that has graced sneaker culture, the 997. And to talk us through this whole thing and how it affects sneaker culture and why we're given such due reverence to such a wonderful model, we have a series of panelists, international panelists, and esteemed New Balance aficionados and experts. And I have to say, it's a privilege to be sharing the stage here and with such illustrious company. So I'm going to invite everyone to come up and introduce themselves and who they are and why they're so significant and why their opinion matters, okay? So first up, I think we should have New Balance 365 because he's come the furthest, okay? This guy is an absolute legend.
Hey guys, what's up? Thank you for welcoming me here in Dusseldorf. Really happy to be here. My name is Richie Rojas. I've one of the biggest New Balance collections in the world. I've been collecting New Balance for 25 years. I have like 500 pairs, something like that. And that's why I'm here today to hang out with you guys.
That's what's up. Give it up, people. Okay. And next up we have Ida, who's come all the way from Norway and who went through flying and then got a boat and a sledge and a horse-drawn carriage and then in a car to come all the way here.
I'm so nervous. Okay. Hi, my name is Ida. I'm from Norway. I've been collecting New Balance for the past 7 years, and I have like a big collection, but not as big as Richie's. But I'm very thankful for being here, and I'm looking forward for this panel talk.
Cool. Wicked. Next up to bat is Needle Horse, because he's... Oh, no, hold on, no, okay, that's my bad. I just thought that because he's such a G that he was up on the panel. Okay. We're gonna introduce Thomas Lindie, okay, because Thomas Lindie, he does so much for the promotion and the love and the reverence for New Balance, period. He also happens, just to be an absolute regular, really nice guy and a knowledgeable chap, and that's why he's up here. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, I'm Thomas Lindie. I don't really know how to follow Richie, to be honest. You probably should have introduced Richie last, so I build up to him. I co-run New Balance Gallery on Instagram. That's sort of where it started for me with the New Balance thing, with my business partner, Glasgow Rob. I'm from Aberdeen, Scotland, and I also, as like the full-time thing, I work for Hanon in Aberdeen, sneaker store. Some of you might be aware of us. But thanks for having us. Happy to be here, and I hope my English isn't too bad. We'll see how it goes.
Cool. Thanks very much. Give it up. And finally, we have Henrietta, who has actually crafted an incredible custom piece, which we'll be talking about. But Henrietta, please step up and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Henrietta. I made the shoes. I'm a sneaker customizer, and I make one-of-one sneakers as a living, and I'm here to bring in the craftsmanship side of the panel talk.
Awesome. Okay, so I just want to go one by one through you guys, okay, just to talk about your first introduction to New Balance as a brand, what your first experience was, and what emotions sort of go through your heads when you recall that moment as well, because we really want to sort of lay the platform down. So we all know you love New Balance, but why? What was the first thing that you recall being that moment that sparked that ignited that passion for New Balance? I think I should refer it to Richie first, and then we'll go to Ida, Thomas, and then yourself, Henrietta.
That's I don't know. That question alone, I feel like I could talk for a long time. So first impression of New Balance, I probably started, so before I was into sneakers, I was into skateboarding. And I was really buying a lot of Vans and Airwalks and Etnies. And as you know, skateboarders go through shoes very quickly. You have to buy like a new pair every month. So my first collection was actually skate shoes. But then I started watching skate videos, and I saw a lot of my heroes weren't wearing skate shoes. They were wearing like Adidas shell toes, Puma suedes, things like that. So I kind of started to delve into athletic shoes. I wasn't an athletic. I was never like playing basketball or football or anything. But then I started shopping at Foot Locker instead of like at the skate shop. And then I started seeing like, I don't know, these guys I looked up to in the city, these guys that look real cool, they dress cool. They were wearing running shoes. So it was like Asics and Sauconys and Nikes and New Balances. So I started to buy those and using them not for skateboarding, but just to like walk around and look cool and like try to talk to girls and just like whatever, like try and look cool. So I started buying those shoes, and New Balances were the most comfortable. And so I kind of started just buying New Balances only.
What was your first model?
It was like 574, like most people, just like a gray suede shoe that was pretty cheap, and it went with all your clothes.
Cool. And Ida, what was your first New Balance model, and what drew you to the brand?
I think it's, first of all, I'm very thankful for being here, because I think it's nice to have like girls representing this very dominated boys industry, and together with you. And my first model was 990s, because I love the 990s and 991. And I always like searching for new things and the things no one else is wearing. Yeah, I'm starting wearing New Balance. Like my first pair of New Balance myself was when I was around 15, 16 years. Yeah. And I love New Balance because it's the quality is it's something for itself, and you can see so many brands around the world like trying to just find their like space into bloggers and influencers, but New Balance always like been like set back and just like done their own thing. So that's the thing I love about New Balance. Yeah.
Okay, and Thomas, where did your journey start?
I don't really have a cool story as such. I think it's probably like most other people really who are into or get into sneakers. I just sort of, was, I guess, on like the internet, looking at forums like Crooked Tongues, and then inevitably like Soul Collector when you're trying to look for something when Crooked Tongues ceased to exist. And I think it was just the New Balance thing came from, I think, just wanting to have something different from everyone else. Sort of be able to like walk down the street and not see somebody else wearing the same shoes as you. And where I'm from in Aberdeen, in Scotland, like New Balance was kind of like a biggish thing there maybe, but in Aberdeen not that many people were wearing it, but Hanon had quite a good relationship with New Balance, so it was quite easy to get into the brand. So with that, I started buying New Balance, and I think like Richie, it started with just like a grey 574. I think that's probably, for a lot of people, where it starts with that silhouette. It's quite easy to get into it. And then as I sort of learned more about Hanon, learned more about sneakers and, everything that goes along with it, then I found out about like the domestically manufacturing thing that New Balance have, like a factory in the UK, factories in the US, and then started buying the UK product, and then it just went from there, really. It sort of spiraled out of control, so that's good.
That's good. You think out of control?
Yeah. I think
when we're all looking at the people here, do you think it is out of control, or has it now become the new norm to have a lot of shoes?
It's probably becoming the new norm, but I think when it's like so specific to one brand, I think that's when it's a bit different. Like, you can have loads of shoes of loads of different brands, but I think for Certainly, most of us three here, I'm not so sure about you, Henrietta. I think most of us have, specifically New Balance. Like Richie says, he has, I think, over 500 pairs of New Balance, yeah? And I think, like myself, I'm sitting on like 350, and I think that makes up the majority of like my sneaker collection in general. So fantastic. I think that's when it gets a bit more like out of control.
Yeah, yeah. And Henrietta, for you, when did your journey with New Balance start? And sneakers in general as well?
Or sneakers in general, like when I was 5 or 6 years old, I guess I was always like running around in dirty jeans and sneakers. But I remember when I bought my first pair of New Balance, I was working in this retail store where it was kind of an outlet. You had stuff for a bit less, which was 2 or 3 months old, and they had them made in UK 1500s in black and grey, and I was like looking at them and I was like, oh, these are made in England. And I was always struggling to find really high quality sneakers. As everybody knows, most of the mass-produced stuff is quite cheaper, and I was really impressed and intrigued by the fact that you could just buy some sneakers made in Europe. And I dug into like what New Balance is doing. I saw those videos from the factories, and I thought that was very impressive because I was always struggling with production of mass-produced sneakers, and I felt like this was something you could buy with a really good conscience, and it looks cool though. So yeah, that was how it
That's
started.
an interesting point that all of you are kind of making, is the fact that New Balance has factories, you know, in Lindie, in Cumbria, in the UK, you know, in the US, and also in the Far East. Do you think the fact that New Balance has a sort of the fact that it is global in the way it produces its shoes, gives it that little extra sort of quality to the brand and something that you find an appreciation for?
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's a haptical sensation to hold these shoes. The pigskin are always super soft and rich in color. And I mean, of course, this is something very unique. I mean, some brands do made in Germany, one-of-ones, or like really small issues for a special occasion or whatever. But New Balance consistently produces in really high quality fabrics, and what for me personally, of course, is important, that these people working there get a living wage and work under more controlled circumstances and make a good living with it, which is, of course, for me as someone who produces shoes also, it's important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't had the privilege of going to Lindie, but I think the four of you have. And one of the things that I find remarkable, you know, is that the staff, the people who work there, are happy, and you can go and talk to them and you can interact with them. How important is that as part of your whole experience with New Balance as well? Thomas, I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Lindie, I think, like 4 or 5 times now. I've been to a couple of US factories as well. And I think, I mean, Henrietta sort of nailed it with, you're obviously quite keen on the whole sort of, you know, the materials and the craftsmanship and what actually goes into them. But I think when you go to these factories, I think you probably have an idea of what it takes to make a pair of sneakers. But when you go to these factories, like it's like nothing you could ever expect. And especially one that's as big as Lindie. And for it to be where it is, like in the Lake District in the UK, there's literally nothing there except for sheep and hills. So to have like a working shoe factory there is
and a pub,
incredible. Right? Yeah, and there's a lot of pubs, but it's, yeah. And those people, like you said, they're all happy to work there. Like you can walk around, have conversations with these people. Some of them have been there since the factory opened, which is, you know, like 35 years ago. That's
very rare these days, because to interact and have that passion, and do you think that passion, that attitude and that sort of, I don't know, affinity and love for what they do seeps through into the product?
Yeah, definitely, because I mean, like when they're producing, I mean, you see it just from when they're producing shoes, and New Balance are marketing packs as well of like around these people, you know, like there's plenty of people who've worked at Lindie, and some, maybe a couple who still work at Lindie that have shoes made after them that have been released like to the mass market. And I think that's just a testament to like the people who work there, whether that's the people who are making your shoes or the people who are designing them or like the factory manager. I think everyone there plays like a really important role in that company.
Richie, have you had a chance to check out the factories in the US? And if so, what are your experiences of that?
That's a good question, because I've not.
Whoa.
Yeah, New Balance UK actually shows me more love than New Balance US.
So did New Balance actually offer a cultural insight into an aspect of British culture that you may not necessarily have experienced otherwise?
It's possible, yeah. I mean, I've heard stories about the factories in the US, but I haven't been.
Were you not at that event?
What's up?
Were you not there at that event?
No.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I thought you were there.
No.
Ida, what are your experiences of going to Flimby? Because I haven't been. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, anyone want to take me there? Please let me know. But no, seriously, what are your experiences and what are your memories of visiting Flimby? And what did you do when you was there?
Okay, so the thing I remember the most was crying a lot, and one of the most like beautiful moments I had at Flimby was like walking through the factory, and I met one woman who has worked there for like 40 years, and she was together with her best friend. And I had like a picture, and I just remember like the joy and like the passion about the brand, and that like gave me the extra like passion for the brand as well, just seeing how they were working together. And yeah, I was so passionate about like the brand and the like the quality and just like the friendship that I have with so many of the New Balance members like here. And yeah, I think that's what I love most about New Balance, because we're like all a family and we take care of each other. So
yeah, it's very interesting that you point that out, because to me, with regards to all the sportswear brands that are out there, and there's a multitude of them, and even in 2018, we saw a few more pop up, independent ones, and some resurrect their sort of heritage, as it were. New Balance, for me, still stands ahead because it's still a family-owned company, and that seeps through. It's very rare in sneaker culture.
Yeah, I think they never like. There's so many brands like yeah. Everyone should like be quiet now. No, there's so many brands that continue like working with like the wrong like people, and they're just like starting to be like more like sellouts. And then I just saw how they were at Flimby, and that also made me like think of how they continue like just being a brand that doesn't like doing the same marketing as so many brands out there. So just like they don't. I'm so nervous. And they don't follow like trends, and they don't do like other brands. So I think it's nice to just see that, because that's a quite special thing in this industry.
No, definitely, Ida, definitely. I agree with that. Richie, I mean, the fact that, Ida's just pointed out the fact that New Balance does not follow trends. Do you think it's actually setting trends? Because we're now in this whole dad shoe phenomenon, and some of the sort of anti-style heroes have championed New Balance since day one. So Steve Jobs, for example, rest in peace, and Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm and certain things like that. How important is it for a brand to lead instead of follow?
That's a hard question to answer, because you might lead but not know that you're leading. You know what I mean? It's not like they put out the 990 and knew that years later it was going to be this thing. So it's almost like this title that's just kind of handed to you, and then what do you do with it? It's like the people are giving you the ball, and then it's up to you to, are you going to pass it? Are you going to shoot it? You know what I mean? That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just like, for me, and Thomas and Henrietta, please interject at any point, that New Balance just does what it does without any consideration to trend, because it's just about just creating good product and product that really has its own sort of fan base and appeal.
Yeah, I think definitely they're still sort of just doing what they want to do, but they are also, I mean, they do also react to trends, like, but they do it mainly out of like their Asian factories. So with product like the 247, or like when they were doing re-engineered product, or even like the X90, that's still reacting to trends. So like when like sock type shoes were a thing, you know, they were still making product like that, but they were also still just putting out good footwear, like domestically manufactured. So yeah, I think naturally as a brand they have to be like reacting to these trends, but I mean, I don't know if so many people are that bothered about that side of New Balance.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that, you know, we've got to remember that New Balance is actually an athletic footwear brand, and their due diligence and approach to running is so well documented. It says it all within the, you know, within the name. And how do you think that that sort of philosophy for athletics still penetrates and is helping New Balance move forward as a brand?
If you have to ask me personally, that the trend right now is retro, clearly, which helps the brand. But if you ask me, it's kind of a timeless design philosophy they follow. It's simple, it's clear, it's often very traditional. You seldomly see bright colors or patterns. You really seldomly see patterns. And if you ask me personally, anything else wouldn't work for something made in that process, especially if you go to made in UK and made in US. It would be a whole waste of workforce to make that with, for example, reflective or plastic materials. If you look at the whole deconstructed off-white vibe that caught most of the other brands right now, that totally wouldn't fit with the cut of the shoes, with the whole process. It just would be a sellout, as she said, and as it wouldn't work, if you ask me. And so I think it's their best take to stay on that timeless silhouettes and on that timeless design principles, because that will work in 20 years plus also, when trends are long gone.
Well, that's it, you know. And one thing that I'm really struck about with regards to this exhibition of footwear is the different types of silhouettes that New Balance has created, which uniquely sort of permeate and sort of express as New Balance. Because when you look at something like any of these models that we have here, from the 990 range, you know, the 500 range, etc., and the 400 range, it looks New Balance, and it doesn't evoke any sort of similarities where you can go, oh, that looks like something from another brand. How important is that, would you say, Thomas?
I think very important. It's quite distinct, though, I guess. The big N on the side obviously helps their case, but yeah, I think they just follow a very similar style. But I mean, a lot of these shoes these are shoes from like early 80s and early 90s, and they've obviously stood the time because we're still wearing them now. So, I mean, some of these shoes are good. Like, when I was having a look around earlier, they were...
Well, this is the thing. We've got a rich history here. For you, what is the standout shoe for you, and why? Barring the 997, which we're going to get to in a minute.
Probably I think there's too much choice, but I'm like a big lover of the 1500, so the Made in USA 1500 that's in that cabinet over there is pretty special, because I sort of like that you don't see that ever. So to actually have that pair here is, yeah, next level.
Cool. Richie, what's your favorite out of all of these incredible models that are exhibited here?
For me, it's easily the one next to Thomas's pick, the original 1300, which is my all-time favorite model. And to even see a pair like that from like 1985 is like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could have a pair.
The mad thing about the 1300 is that I was told that the drug dealers in Washington, D.C. wore the 1300. Do you know about that story?
Yeah, so at the time, the 1300 was like the most expensive running shoe in the market. It was like $140, $150. This was before like the 1600 came out. That was $180. But so, you know, drug dealers always want to have like top of the line.
$180. Well, I mean, what year are we talking
and this is
here?
like 96.
Wow.
So that's when the 1600 came out. So that was probably, you know, 1985. And I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you want to flaunt your money, so you have to wear the most expensive shoe out there.
So that's really the reason why you like the 1300, because you want to look like money,
That's not the reason
right?
why I like it. I was never a drug dealer. I like it because I like the color and the shape.
Sure?
And the quality is really good.
Ida, what's your favourite one out of the entire collection that we have on display here? And I hope you've had a time to familiarise yourself.
Yeah, I already requested 992 and 993 to come like back because that's one of my favorite shoes. 1500 is also one of my favorite shoes, and now they have came in women's sizes, so that's amazing. But I'm a men's size as well, so I always go to eBay and I like searching for the old.
You're lucky. You are so lucky. You are so lucky because the amount of vintage shoes that I see in your size, and I'm just crying because I can't get in them, but you're good. You're good all day, every day.
And I always go to eBay and I found like these so good like models for like £30. And
My kind of
like
prices.
And I have so many nice 1500s. That's my favorite. 992, 993. 761 is also a favorite. I hope they come back. So yeah, hopefully the old models will come back. That's the best ones.
Well, yeah, they're really good. I think New Balance is making some fantastic new models as well. But you know, that's another thing. Henrietta, you've had a look around. What's your favorite model from this entire collection? Purely from an aesthetical sort of viewpoint, but also from a materials viewpoint as well, because you are a craftswoman, and so what also sort of shines out to you in that regard?
So for the record, I'm not the New Balance expert like these guys, but I'll go with them, and I'm really a huge fan of the 1500 because of the silhouette, and I'm really a fan of details. They have a lot of details, and those inside there, I really love the new books. And I actually, color-wise, I'm rather more the fleshy type, and these are like the classic New Balance conservative colorways, but I can definitely like really good nubuck and really good upper leather on these. And the 1300 is also intriguing because of a lot of details, which always works for me.
So you got the panels and you got the different
sort
of
a lot
overlays.
of panels and a really sleeker toe box like the 547, 574.
574.
Sorry. Like those basic, rather more basic GR models, they usually have those really wide toe box, and I'm rather more for the sleek types because I'm a US 9 and they look pretty big though.
You're the same size as me. I can have those pink 1500s off
but you won't get them.
Okay, there's one question that I've always wanted to ask New Balance experts, okay? Which is the best? The made in UK or the made in USA? And why? So Ida, I'm going with you first on that.
Wow. I can't choose. I think the UK are the best. I remember, like, I've been working for a sneaker store in Norway for 5 years. I quit 1 year ago. And I always, like, remember opening the box and the smell of New Balance. Is anyone agreeing? Yeah. It's
the smell of new shoes is really something,
like
right?
New Balance, it's a special smell.
I want to spray that.
Yeah,
and all over.
So many of my customers were like looking at me like, is it something wrong with her? Because I was like smelling the new box, and that's a nice feeling.
Well, at least she wasn't licking your shoes like Fat Joe, okay?
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Come on. UK, I think UK will be the winner for me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Richie, what are you saying? UK or USA?
All right. As an American, I have to say, made in UK is better.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
You-
okay.
the
You got to give some back. You got to define that.
The UK ones are just better.
Why? Why are they so much better?
Shape, better colors, better materials. The USA ones are great, but I mean, the UK ones are the best.
The people in the factories in the USA are just now crying. They're like crestfallen. I mean, this has been broadcast to the world, and you've just, you know, and it's about to be as well on the AFEW YouTube channel as well, which is everyone should recap and watch, okay? Because the Afew-Store is launching or has launched a YouTube channel, and all the content is going to be going on that. So we're going to be worldwide, okay?
That's
me
my
picking my nose
opinion.
earlier, worldwide. It's out there. You know what I mean?
That's my opinion. I love the UK ones.
Okay, cool. And Thomas, for you?
Yeah, UK, no question. It doesn't even need an explanation. It's just UK is the best.
All right, okay, cool. And Henrietta, you're not a New Balance expert, but this is why your opinion is so good, because you can approach it from a completely other perspective.
So this is going to be a boring one. I think the UK ones are better, but I think that might have to do with the models, because I'm a 1500 fan. But they usually have a better pigskin, and I really love that super plushy, nice soft pigskin suede, and that's usually on the UK ones. Yeah, and also it might be kind of a psychological issue, because England is known for the best cobblers, and kind of that connection might be in my head that I say, yeah, probably they have the better skill, but not.
That's very interesting, because New Balance has collaborated with Grenson, for example, in the past, and that was a collaboration which I thought was actually incredible, because it gave due reverence to New Balance's sort of real sort of, I don't know, real sort of qualities, and the fact that it gives due respect to craftsmanship. It just felt like one of those collaborations which made sense, as it were. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, totally agree. I mean, it's probably not that easy to link a modern product like a sneaker with craftsmanship and all that stuff, especially like material knowledge and all that stuff, and make a wholesome product. Although I personally think this is always an intriguing match. There's kind of a pressure or something like that. Like it works out when people know what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Thomas, what's your favorite New Balance collaboration, and why then? Because is it to do with the craftsmanship? Is it to do with a background story, or something else that I haven't considered with the question?
We probably should have asked this in advance, so I could have time to think. Favorite?
I just want a spontaneous response, though. Sometimes it's just the first thing that popped into your head, and it's not necessarily the right answer, but it's the answer that you're dropping now. So there's no judgment on it.
Favorite collab?
New Balance collab.
Jesus.
Okay, the house is on fire. You got one to get. You only got 30 seconds because the house is burning down, dude. You know what I mean? Come on. Yeah, what are you grabbing?
There's the Crooked Tongues soul box,
Good
1500, the one they made for bread and butter.
Yeah.
There's like 50 pairs or something, if
There
that.
is.
That's the best, probably.
That for me was incredible, because the mix of materials, it was so out there, and it was ahead. You know, it had carbon fiber. It had.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. I think at the time that came out, it was just such a rich time for the brand as well. And then, I mean, Crooked Tongues done some incredible collabs over their time as well, and Soulbox's history speaks for itself. So
It's definitely got a shout out Hitnet for that.
I think with those two combining, and then that level of product, and some of the other people that were involved who.
Yeah, BJ Betts has to get a big shout out as well for working with Crooked Tongues on the series of 4.
Chris Law as well, and
Chris Law.
Those guys were all involved in it. So I think when you put like silhouette, stores, people involved, materials, and I think that's the best one for me. It's certainly, if the house is burning down, that's the one I'd be grabbing.
Definitely. Got to shout out Gary Warnett and Sofa Rock as well in their due diligence and approach to that. Richie, what's your favourite New Balance collaboration, and why? The house is burning. I'm sorry, the house is burning.
It's
you
all
only
good.
got one to get.
My favorite New Balance collab, someone here is actually wearing them.
Okay.
There's a lot of heat in the room tonight.
Yeah,
But
I'm sweating.
Someone is wearing the 1300 collab with A-Life.
Ooh.
It's gray with the teal N. 1300 is my favorite model.
Yo, who's got that? And can they just take it off their foot and throw it up in the air?
A-Life is
just
kind
hold
of
it up in
like
the air.
one of the OG spots in New York. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Who's got the 1300 A-Life? Come on.
It's here somewhere, unless they left. I saw it earlier.
No
all
one wants to
good.
admit having the most flossing collaboration according to New Balance 365. Okay, fine. Okay, Ida, what is your favorite collaboration and why?
Okay, I need to say the naked ones because it's a sneaker store for girls, and I think we like all the boys should like support the girls more, and that's a nice shoe, and also the quality of the. I love 991, and that was the shoe I chose at Lindie when we made the one-of-one shoe. So, naked.
Okay,
You
there
go.
If you had a chance to make your own collaboration shoe, then Ida, apart from the 991, what model would you be choosing and why?
992. No, but I love 991 and 992. It's classic, and you can wear it to everything. And yeah, hopefully, New Balance, let me make a shoe with you.
That'll be something. That'll be something. Richie, for you, what's the one that you're looking at?
What model?
Yeah. What would you be doing?
1300. It would have to be. That's my all-time greatest shoe. It's a little too plain for some people. It's not as techy as a 1500, but to me, it just embodies New Balance. It's just simple and has a nice shape and is comfortable.
Yeah. And Thomas, for you?
1500, definitely.
Okay. Interesting. Henrietta?
Same 1500s.
Okay. Interesting. No one thought to say the 997 because that's why we're here. All right, okay. Now that brings me to this shoe. The 997. The profile, the silhouette of the shoe is like a cheese wedge, right? It's just like something that if it struck you in the face, it would slice your head off. Isn't that a good thing? I mean, 997 stories. Come on, people. Okay? Your first time where you saw the 997 and your jaw dropped, what was going on, and what was the first color of the 997 that you had, or you haven't yet got the 997, and if that's the case, the door's over there, okay? No, but seriously, okay. Ida, do you have a 997 in your collection? Well, you do, you got them on your feet.
I have this one, but I love like basic colors. So I have this one. I also have the, I don't remember what color that is, but it's like a black one with a pink, like, yeah, it's nice. I can show you. But I think it's sick that I made like the thing behind the shoe, like the strap back. How did I like get the chance to do that? Because I never, I said no.
Just buttons. I just poked a hole through and then it's buttons.
Yeah, it's so
Press
cool.
buttons. It's actually easy to
So
make.
nice. I love the shoe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Richie.
The 997 is a weird one for me because it came out in 91. I started collecting around 94, so I was like 14 or 15, and the 997 was gone by then. So when I started collecting shoes, it was the 998. I didn't really know about the 997 till later, and it's not like we had the internet or like catalogs to know it existed, and by then most of the pairs were gone. So it wasn't until it was like you saw photos on Crooked Tongues in like the 2000s that I even knew of the 997, but by then it was like pretty much impossible to get a pair. And New Balance really didn't do anything about it till, I don't know, was it 2014? And I think Crooked Tongues is actually a huge reason why the 997 is back in the first place, because so many people, New Balance fanatics, were on there bitching and complaining about how much they wanted the shoe and colorways, and at some point New Balance had to just listen, and they were able to bring it back in 2014, according to Thomas. But yeah, so for me, it's like I didn't really have a relationship with the 997 until it was brought back.
So what's your favorite 997 now then?
You can't really argue with just the OG gray or the navy. They're probably the best of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, and Thomas, what's your favorite?
I was just going to echo what Richie said, to be honest. I think the 997 was a bit elusive and then it literally was just a bunch of like New Balance nerds sitting on Crooked Tongues forum, literally bitching about we want this shoe back, and then it appeared in the classic grey reissue, and I to be honest, I don't think they can top that grey shoe. Wow. Like the one I've got on, that's the 2014. Is actually it's pretty much the same as the one that came out like again. But yeah, that's the best one, and the navy one is really good as well. I think maybe for the first year and a half of when they were reissuing that shoe, like colorways in that shoe, that was probably the strongest time, and then after that it went a bit quiet. Some other stuff took its sort of place, but it's good to see a bit of a resurgence for that shoe. Yeah,
no, definitely. And Henrietta, for you, obviously you had to research the 997. I want to talk to you in depth about what you have just done with AFEW. But what was the 997 in your research that popped out the most to you, that maybe have sort of inspired you to go where you went with your handcrafted model?
Well, to be honest, research was rather practical. So I cut the shoe apart, and then I had all these parts, and I had to figure out to put it back again.
So you didn't look at any previous collaborations? No,
actually I had the left and the right shoe, and I cut apart the right shoe, and then I had the left as a sample. And it's, yeah, of course I looked them up, and probably it's rather like the gray ones, I know those, and I think I had those some time ago, but it's not a shoe I learned to know intensely before this project.
So was it an eye-opener being asked to contribute? And
yes, of course. It's like, of course, it's always an honor to be like put into such a project, to have people trust you and trust your workmanship.
How did this come about then? This is the thing, because you know, did they just go through the phone book and go, oh, Henrietta, shoe customizer, all right, cool, we're going to get her on board? You know, what is your previous work, you know, is that what shone through, and that's why AFEW sort of came to you and
we did a project before. We did a project before, and I made some Essex, what the Gale Saga, somebody might have seen them, and it was a kind of a mashup project of collaborations, and it worked very well, and we had a nice work together. And so the guys asked me, you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I definitely want to do this.
You had a challenge in which to excel and improve on what you'd done before.
Yes.
So how did you consider the materials, and where did you source the materials from, and why did you come up with the colors that you chose?
So basically we had this concept that the guys from AFEW sent to me. And I have this leather dealer. It's a really, you can see it in a trailer video where I walk around and all these leather skins lying around. And it was pretty clear that it's a rather classical colorway. And then you have very little colors to choose from. It's pretty clear that you need a dark, rich green. You can't just take an olive green for a colorway like that. And so I showed some samples, and we discussed back and forth. And it's kind of, yeah.
You should grab the shoe. Come on, grab the shoe. Come on. Okay, I want people to see this shoe in your hands, and I want you to talk us through what was going on and which order you approached things. You know, we really want to get to grips with how you came to actually create these incredible masterpieces. I have to say, it's very rare that my breath is taken away these days when it comes to shoes, but these are absolutely jaw-dropping.
Thank you very much.
That's not because you paid me to say that.
Thank you very much. So yeah, actually, like the first thing I definitely knew was the green suede, because we had some sample photos of a green apron, like a cobbler's apron, and I was pretty clear.
Oh, so hold on, the green apron was a cobbler's apron.
Yes, we had a photo of it, and I think the guys have one. They had some in a photo shooting. And going from there, you only have very few options of browns that you can add. And we chose a rather warm brown tone. So like this brown here is a classic tan. And like also in the back, this is just classic tan leather. That's the name of the color. And all of these are pretty basic traditional colors. Also like the red leather on the tongue is also pretty classic. Like the whole color concept is something you might see on men's shoes. You might also see it on men's clothing, like proper men's
So why the
clothing.
corduroy?
Yeah, it was in the concept from the beginning, and it's kind of a rough material. It's rather.
You think it adds a certain texture?
Yes. It's kind of a rather crafty fabric. You could have rather delicate fabrics who wouldn't fit with this concept. That's why we also chose for the linen and not for synthetic mesh.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's a very natural-looking shoe. You know, it doesn't sort of have that sort of plastic-esque sort of quality that most new shoes have. This looks very organic. It looks like it's got a life of its own.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because we took pretty much live materials. These are not covered in acrylic color and have you can see like discolorations. You can see little marks on it, which is not the same as like material from cheaper.
So do both shoes have certain characteristics which mark
Yes,
them out as being
definitely.
part of a pair but individual at the same time?
Yes, and we covered the back part here, which is usually plastic, with a really, really thin leather skin. If you touch it, you... And all of these brown leathers will change with wearing. Like they will take on fats and they will take on fluids and they will get a patina after.
So these shoes are going to age. They're going to evolve.
Yes, they're gonna age because all the leathers we used here, the brown ones, are open pored and upper leathers, and these change with wear. It's like what really good leather products do. They change within the living, and each leather product is really unique because everyone uses their products differently. And that's what makes, that in my opinion, makes these natural materials far more interesting than flat leathers from mass production.
That's interesting. And also, what's with the writing? Is that a font, or is this your handwriting? What's the deal with this?
Actually, I bought the license for this font online from a font designer, and I paid him properly for it, which I think is really important. You can just steal it, you can just download the font data and use it, but as I'm an artist, kind of artist myself, I think it's important people get paid for their work. So I bought the license, and I chose this font particularly because it has this handwriting vibe, but it isn't too playful. It doesn't have too many schnörkels and stuff like that.
I see. And what's with the button-down heel sort of detail there?
Yeah, we planned it with a sewn-on label, and I just said, why not make it for exchanging? Because I'm really a fan of functional clothing.
So those shoes are literally popping.
Yeah, and you could just...
Bad joke, I'm sorry.
You could just
Me and Richie share
handmade...
this dad joke thing.
You can just make your own one with your name on it, or whatever you want to say.
Oh, that's cool.
I like functional stuff where you can change the tongues and stuff like that. That's always cool.
Well, you know what I want to know is, if you had to package these shoes, what would your approach be to packaging these shoes? And would you know, or is that something you haven't considered yet?
I put them in a wine box, actually,
Okay.
and a wooden box, and we had some stuffing, and it was a kind of natural look. It was a bit big because it's not a shoe box, but it works really good to put them inside, and then you can see it on some of the photos, I guess. Yeah, you can see it over there. It's just a really simple wooden box because it doesn't need any more.
Yeah, totally. I've got to put it out to our panelists. Okay, Ida, when you first saw this shoe, what did you think? What were your emotions?
Personally, I always wear like light shoes with like light colors, but I like the colorway and the colors that fit together. So I would definitely have the shoe myself. So well done.
Richie.
Let's have an applause for her.
Yes. Give a shout out to Henrietta. Yo, Richie.
So I first saw pics of these on Instagram, like 2 or 3 weeks ago? And I didn't really know what the deal or the store was. I just was like, holy shit, like I want that. Like those colors are like some of my favorite colors, like earth tones, brown and green.
You're wearing it right now?
Am I? Yeah. Oh yeah, I am.
You're so camouflaged, you can't even see yourself.
And of course, this is my favorite part is
that's so cool.
this back part. Yeah. I just thought like I have to have this shoe. I didn't know whether it was getting produced or not, but I was like, I would.
I really hope it does reach production stage in some form.
Pay for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And Thomas, how about yourself? Because this is the first time you've held this in your hand?
Yeah, I think the reaction that it got on social was sort of enough to say how good the shoe was. I mean, I had sort of like people like messaging me since it came out saying like, how can I get a pair? Are you going to Dusseldorf? Can you take me a pair home? And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a one of one, but the pair's here, so I hope somebody keeps an eye on it tonight. Otherwise, it's coming back to Aberdeen. So, but yeah, so it's like incredible, like absolutely nailed it.
No, definitely, absolutely sensational. Do you think it's really important that New Balance and stores such as AFEW, really sort of try to inject themselves within the culture in such an honest way? Because I think that as a brand, it's very unique for not just this on this occasion, but on multiple occasions, New Balance has just shown that they actually actively care about how they're perceived, because they actually, we've talked about it earlier, but this reverence that they have to product really just seeps through, and it's such a thing that's very inspirational. It sets a high platform for everyone else, wouldn't you think? I'd say that to Richie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. If New Balance kind of has this approach that they've lived on for so many years, and the people at AFEW are approaching this project the way it is, it kind of seems like a good match, or I don't know. There's an affinity there with the two, I think.
Cool. And Thomas, as well, do you know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that as well? No. What I'm saying is the fact that, New Balance is very unique in the fact that it sort of tries to have these projects that sort of penetrate within their sort of fan base, but project beyond that as well. And it's very unique for a brand to do that, and how important it is.
I think it's probably only New Balance, really. I don't see any of the other brands doing the sort of similar work that they're doing, certainly on this level. So yeah,
things like when you have trips to Lindie, etc. I don't know any other brands that go, hey, yo, you guys are really into our stuff. Why don't you come check it out? How it's done?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look back or think back at some of the stuff I've done over the last 4 or 5 years with New Balance, that would never happen with another brand. I mean, they changed the shape of all UK silhouettes except for the 991, just because a couple of idiots on the internet moaned about it. So it's for a global sportswear brand to do that, they're on another level.
Definitely. Where is New Balance going then? Okay, we've talked about the 997, we've talked about the heritage, but there's new models of the 997 with new technology coming out, and then there's new models that are coming out, that are just sustaining the message and the philosophy of New Balance. What are you looking forward to when it comes to New Balance and how they're pushing forward?
I think it's good. I guess I'm a bit of a purist as well. I like all the old stuff. I like the made in UK, made in USA stuff. But I think just given the nature of how sneakers and this whole scene or industry is progressing, I think you sort of have to embrace change. So when they're making £90 shoes that are in Asia, but the quality is still on the same level as many of your other major brands, you just sort of have to go with it. And they're making really fucking good shoes. That X90, even the 997H. It's hard because you take the 997H and you'll compare it to a 997 made in USA, but not everyone can afford the made in USA product. So
that's the thing that sets New Balance apart, is the fact that it's at the pinnacle in terms of price range, but you're getting what you pay for.
Yeah, and to cover all bases, for them to have something like the 997H, which is still premium, as premium as other brands, and arguably more comfortable with the sort of sole technology that they use, and looks, you know, like everyone wants a silhouette that looks sharp, and they produce that product. So
Definitely. Richie, what are your thoughts? Where's New Balance going? What are you looking forward to?
I've really been enjoying New Balance's hybrid models, combining different models and making a new one. I don't think they're all successful, but I think the fact that they're just attempting it, I think they might be making some like future like icons. It may not be regarded as one currently, but maybe like 10 years from now, you might look back and be like, wow, that hybrid was like really cool. And also they're going into basketball this year, NBA. So that's a really big move for New Balance too.
It'd be great to see, you know, New Balance back on the court, because the last dude that I recall being a major player wearing New Balance was James Worthy of the LA Lakers, the championship-winning LA Lakers, alongside Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was part of that triumvirate, which was no mean feat. And that was the 80s.
In the 80s. Yeah, like mid-80s. So I don't know. It's a big move for New Balance to go into NBA. We'll see what happens. It's supposed to drop this year, later this year.
Definitely. And Ida, what are you looking forward to from New Balance moving forward?
One of the things I like most about New Balance is that they don't care about like followers or likes. They care about you as a person and your personality. And hopefully they will like take people who deserve it with them like higher, and hopefully we will see like nice collabs with the people or stores in the future. I'm looking forward. Yeah.
Definitely. And Henrietta, for you, obviously you'd love to work with New Balance, one would presume.
Yes, definitely. If you ask me, I really hope they don't change too much, because they're doing really good in what they're doing, and they're kind of a brand you can rely on. Because I know if I buy a pair of these, I will get my quality and I will get what I pay for, as Thomas already said. I think in general, probably a bit more transparency about sustainability would be nice on the business.
That's a key issue facing the sneaker industry right now.
The whole industry. And I think like a lot of people are changing the ways they buy stuff, and they are changing the way thinking about production issues. And I think New Balance is maybe a brand that has an advantage to all the others, with already having production places in kind of first world countries, if US stays. First world country.
Definitely. No, yeah, you're right, absolutely right. They do. Okay, are there any closing remarks you wish to talk about before we wrap things up, or are we all good? All right, wicked, excellent. Well, I just want to say we've got to give it up to Tiago and Arek, okay, who actually sourced the shoes that you see in conjunction with Afew-Store. And we've got to give a shout out once more to our panelists. So give it up, people. Let's give it up to New Balance, okay, for being here. So give a shout out to New Balance, and give a shout out to Afew-Store. Afew-Store, right? Afew-Store is 10 years old, right? This is the thing. This is one part of the celebration for Afew-Store being a decade in the game and just showing such wonderful consideration to the culture. It's very rare that you see stores doing it actually just because they want to do it, not because they want to get likes, not because they want to grow bigger. They want to actually do stuff they care about. These guys are passionate about this, and if this is how they're starting their 10th anniversary off, I've got to say I cannot wait to see how the year pans out. Give it up to Afew-Store. And one last thing. Give it up to yourselves.
And for you.
Because without you guys, there's nothing. There's no sneakers on feet. There's no one walking around. You guys are the community. You guys are the culture. You guys are the future. Give it up to yourselves, people. Come on. There's more beer, there's more wine, there's more stuff to see. Come on, marinate, let's get involved. You know, DJ's gonna kick it. I wanna see some wavy feet out there, all right? Let's do this. Thank you.
Thanks for hosting Kish Kash. Thank you.